Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Stupid, and welcome back to Angels with Scaly Wings. What did I even do in the last part? Because I don't remember what I did in the last part. I'm meeting with Anna or Dean. I talked about, one of these two. I think I said I was going to go and, pursue the Anna romance line. I don't remember what my reasoning for that was, but I'm pretty sure that's what I said. Alright, so she's here. You there. What's going on? You sound pretty worried on the phone. You sounded pretty worried on the phone. Did someone else turn up dead? Worried? If I was worried, it would mean I was afraid of something that might happen, but I'm way beyond that. Alright, that's what I thought. I know exactly what's going to happen to me. It's over. Oh, did you learn about the meteor? What are you talking about? First they came- oh, you're talking about the politics. First they came by my lab, and now they went to my home, too. Who? The police. Okay, that's a new pose. The police, they raided the place. They had a warrant and everything. I already know that they have all they need to convict me. I'm going to die in prison. No, I think you're going to die when the meteor hits. Why? It's because of those tests I did on you. You will die in prison because you looked at my fingernail under the microscope. I'm a bit confused. Why don't you start from the beginning? Alright. Okay, so we are wasting no time with the exposition today. This goes years back, and you already know half the story. I was a brilliant mind who had skipped years in school and was on the fast track through university with an incredibly lucrative career in front of me. You wouldn't believe the offers I had based on my accomplishments. I was still in school and already solving problems that no one had even touched before. I had so many awards lining my shelves that new ones just went straight to the trash. I didn't need them. I just enjoyed the challenge. Besides, I couldn't care less about what some old people thought of my work. As if I needed their approval. I was already more than any of them could have ever dreamed to be. The next problem I was going to tackle was an incurable disease. I started my research, but in an ironic twist of fate, I ended up contracting the very same disease myself. Whether someone had not been following health and safety protocols as well as they should have, or if I was just unlucky, I'll never know. But the reality was that I now had a disease that was treatable, but not curable. Despite having helped an incredible amount of people with my work, I was now the one who needed help. Yet there was no one who could help me. No one but myself. I was already planning on working on a cure anyway, and what better reason could there ever be than doing it to save myself? I told no one about my affliction and set out to do what many others had failed to. Any materials I needed to start my work were easily acquirable, just by waving my status around. I had free reign over my own lab. I could have even gotten assistance if I wanted to, but I already knew they would only be liabilities. I even had a few good leads for ways to combat the disease, although the one that I chose to pursue was not exactly legal. Okay. Not without prior approval by the council. My research was promising though, and while I submitted the paperwork, I knew that these things always moved slowly. Being pushed through with the various boards and committees could have taken months, if not years, depending on how generous they would be. I just couldn't afford to wait that long, as I was working against the clock. So, while waiting for the paperwork to be approved, I had already started with my work. I fully expected them to approve it eventually. How they could not, given that I was already tackling an incurable disease? Tackling is suddenly a very difficult word to pronounce. The method I was going to use was not necessarily a new one, but it was controversial. It didn't even cross my mind that anyone would object, seeing as could cure thousands, if not millions of future people. But I was younger then, and a little more naive than I am now. In the end, my whole project came crashing down in flames. The proposal that I was sure would be approved was ultimately rejected, putting all the work I had already done into jeopardy. I had already made good progress at the time, too. After the rejection, there was going to be an inspection of my workplace in order to determine the progress I had made on the project, which they had assumed would be within legal bounds and didn't include, they assumed had been within legal bounds and didn't include the controversial things outlined in the paperwork. Of course, that meeting was just going to be a pretense because I knew there were already rumors going around what really went on in my lab. What are you doing? In the end, I had very little warning. Thankfully, I managed to dispose of the most egregious evidence before they arrived. They found proof of my wrongdoing, but since they didn't find evidence of how far I had already proceeded, I was able to deny most of their accusations. What did you do? Am I gonna find out later, like I found out a surprisingly large number of things about the story and backstory, or is this just gonna be a noodle incident? Using the controversial method when it hadn't been approved was still seen as a very grievous offense, however. I was charged and sentenced harshly, though the sentence was suspended due to their lack of evidence. With all I had done for them, they knew better than to take away my license, and I was able to continue work in other areas under the condition that it was all within a council-owned facility. I see, so I assume that those tests on me were against whatever conditions they set for the suspended sentence. Exactly. I say in a voice far more cheerful than I'm sure she is actually speaking with. Why didn't you just do the things the proper way and wait for the paperwork to clear? Man, do I have to live up to my in-game name or what? Before my paperwork would even go through, you'd be long gone. Before my paperwork would even get through, you'd be long gone. Using you as a test subject would have been a process that the council would have to discuss with humanity. As such, there might have been another trade agreement, and who knows what else. I just didn't have the time. Quite frankly, I didn't even know how much longer I have left. I was just going to ask. I assume you are still dying. And I assume this is this answer is yes. You thought my test results would help you find a cure. And that's never going to happen now. How did they find out so quickly? It's not been that long since I came to your lab. It wasn't just those tests, there was Reza too. But Reza told me he didn't give you any of his blood when you asked for it. That's because that's not what I got from him. This is my life we're talking about. Do you think I didn't spend hours on the ground in the hallway of the facility after Reza's first visit, trying to find a stray hair or anything else I could use? Or that when I gave him the first generator, I didn't try and graze his skin just enough so that I could salvage a few skin cells. How did they find out about all this? It was Damion, my assistant, that piece of shit. Okay, so that's why you didn't really care that he died. Okay, he was blackmailing me. Why? Because he's jealous of me, jealous of my success. He found out what I was doing with the stuff I could salvage from Reza. I didn't mind giving him what he wanted though, I just wanted to live. When he died and the police searched his apartment, they found all the evidence he had on me. And now everything is coming down. I'll be punished to the full extent of the law, and I will die in prison. My work will forever be tainted, not that I'll care about that when I'm dead. Do you remember the childhood friend of mine I told you about? I never wanted to end up like her, but it seems not even I can do anything to escape that fate. Maybe I deserve it. Maybe it's my punishment. I have to die like she did because I left her. I will spend my days bedridden in a prison cell, and no one will visit me or care. And you know what? With all the data I got from you, I might have actually found a cure. I don't want to cry in front of you. I don't want the attention or pity. I don't want it. I didn't cry back when I was diagnosed, and I'm sure as heck not going to cry now. I admit that I was selfish. Always. You did great things. And that's what everyone kept telling me. You know, after the whole affair back then and the suspended sentence, the rumors about me never stopped. Did they warn you about me? Tell you to stay away? I'm sure they have. Why are you still here? I didn't listen to them, I guess. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember. There was probably like one line back way in the beginning and I just kind of brushed it off, probably, isn't there? That's how these things tend to go. I didn't listen to them, I guess, just like you. The council, Damion, Remy, they were always sabotaging me. If everyone just left me alone, I wouldn't even need your help. Why couldn't everyone just leave me alone? When they gave me the manager position at the facility, that was just to distract me even more, giving me free reign over the lab, so I'd be tempted to do something I shouldn't. How can I not at least try? One of their oh-so-important founding principles is how every individual is important. That's clearly not the case with me. At least, they never showed it was. Now I can just see how different you are. You are the only one who came to me willingly without any ulterior motives. Or did you? You invited me, I just took the invitation. Just to use you. And yet you still came back for more. You let me do all those tests on you. Sure, you complained like a pro, but you sat it out for me. I owed it to you. You didn't owe me anything anymore. I do not have a bottle of water next to me, and that might be a problem. Whatever, I'll go get one after this this video. So what? Maybe I won't have to die alone after all. I don't know if I'll be able to be there. It doesn't matter. You've already done more than enough for me. I'll remember you when I die. Anyway, enough of that. I hope you don't mind me hanging around here. My place still looks like the police raided it. Oh wait, that's exactly what happened. Do you need help cleaning up? No, I can pay someone to do it later. I just don't want to be there right now. Nice apartment you got here, by the way. Not quite as fancy as mine, but this isn't bad either. I guess the council treats you nicely, huh? Hey, it wasn't my decision. You're such a VIP, aren't you? It can't be that important if your apartment is nicer than this. Besides, after your rhetoric about being wild and all that when we went for a date, I assumed you were more the type of person who just lives in a hole in the ground. Wow. Tactful. That's not what I said. I told you I can appreciate all kinds of different experiences. Alright, that's the polite way of putting it, I guess. I can survive in the wild if I wanted to, though. Do you want to know what I did on my last vacation? I just started walking in a random direction. I spent a week in the wilderness before I came back.
Hey.
That must have been an adventure. I wouldn't have been able to do without tools. I could give you some tips if you'd like. Not sure if I'd ever need them. Be careful what you say, but I guess they could come in handy. Actually, there's one tip that should take care of everything. Let's hear it then. What might this be? Don't wade into the green water, perhaps? That's my best guess. Just be a dragon, then you've got everything you need, and you don't have to rely on tools and other stupid stuff. You know what? Screw you. We can't all be so lucky. Yeah, that's super helpful. How do you think I'm supposed to do that? Not my problem. Actually, you can tell me about your advances. Can you tell me about your advances in genetic engineering? Maybe you could make it happen. My personal ones? I was speaking more of your society as a whole, but if you have personal experience, that could also be interesting. I'm reading the interesting in great big air quotes, as some other words in the story have been. We could do so much if we wanted to. Cloning, genetic scrambling, or hybrids of our various different species. Heck, we could even create a new species if we wanted to, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Tampering with genetics is not allowed. Why? This game came out before the CRISPR incident in China last November, didn't it? About a year ago. Our enlightened society does not see any value in it. Besides, you know about our creation myth, right? The one about humans creating you? Yeah, that one. It's the only one we have. Anyway, we are not to tamper with the perfect images after which we were created. And what would those be? The belief is that each species was molded for particular tasks, or a particular role in our society. Interesting to see how the ripple effects cascade from the actual creation incident, I guess we'll call it. Really, some of them aren't even wrong. It suggests certain species should go into certain jobs because of the naturally higher aptitude in those fields. Can you give me an example? Well, let's just say that while everyone can join the police force, you'll never be the flyer on duty unless you belong to a species that can fly. That much is a given. I was talking more about if there is any sort of discrimination, for example. You could say so. These structures can be pretty rigid in places, especially when where the council is concerned. They really like to employ the members of the various species into the traditional roles. Ironically enough, the perpetual nuisance you know as Remy was a revolutionary case where that didn't happen. In what way? Well, a council's aide, particularly one who works in the archives, is usually a member of the species who is with more dexterous hands. You can't really expect a four-legged species to do that kind of job well. And he doesn't. It's really been a disaster. Did I spoil that for you, Anna? He's basically become the laughingstock of the whole town because you're still talking about him in present tense. When Remy initially got the position, there was a lot of controversy about the subject. Some liked it, some didn't. I thought that for Emera, politics was a popularity contest. Doing something controversial and divisive like that doesn't really fit that image. She wasn't like that in the beginning. It certainly caused people to remember her, though, and now that people know her, she has changed her attitude a bit. It was a good move because it kept her in the spotlight all the time, and she's using it to gain popularity now, so she just likes the attention. I don't know why she does it, and frankly, I don't care. You'd have to ask her for yourself, but I doubt she'd tell you. I wouldn't expect honesty from someone like her. Politics always used to be so messy back home. Scandals, arguments, lies. They were everywhere. And the more that she describes Emera, the more that I really am thinking of Coin from the Hunger Games. We do get the occasional scandal from time to time, and of course there's always rumors. You can't really make people stop talking. In a way, I'm glad we don't have all that anymore. Emphasis on the right words. Why not? At some point, it just gets tiring. People get loud and argumentative, and those are supposed to be our leaders. That's not something people would like here. If you are a council member who wants to be popular, you don't engage in that kind of behavior. Oh man, the wistful thinking. That sounds like a nice change of pace. Not necessarily, since it also leads to reluctant agreements and sweeping issues that should be talked about under the rug. You know what? That just doesn't jive with me. They like to preserve the fantasy of peace and harmony in our society. For me, it's just so fake. People pretend to be something they aren't to conform, just because they don't want to stand out. They become faceless puppets like drones in a hive or cogs in a machine. What kind of world do we live in where speaking one's mind is seen as something bad? I never held back. Now see where that got me. Be careful what you wish for. I bet someone would argue that it would be easier just to conform then. I could never do that. And besides, I don't want to. There is this thing called integrity, and if there's one thing in this society needs, that's it. Now you're starting to sound like a politician. If that's what your politicians sound like, maybe they aren't so bad. Oh my god, this is so difficult to read. Sometimes I just want to walk up to some of ours and shake them until they wake up and accept the truth. What is the truth? I'm a scientist. Truth and facts are the empirically verifiable... Truth and facts are empirically verifiable by science and tests. After all, the tests I do in my job are to find out if assumptions are true or not. I suppose if you ask different people, their definitions of truth would be very different. What's truth to you then? I know that I know nothing, and I can't remember who said that. I know that I know nothing, and I like to open my big mouth anyway. What's that supposed to mean? It's a philosophical phrase. It means that, ultimately, we can't really know anything with absolute certainty. Ah yes, quantum mechanics. Yes, philosophy is nice and all, but that doesn't really help me when I'm in the lab. You do seem to like talking about this kind of stuff, though. I'm not an ambassador for nothing, you know. You're an ambassador so you can discuss the nature of truth with different cultures. You know, if you ask the wrong kind of person, these kinds of discussions could turn very ugly. They tend to do anyway. I'm certainly here to learn about what you're thinking and how your society works on a deeper level. Of course, I wouldn't just walk up to someone on the street and start talking. Maybe you should be talking with someone in social studies then. Not necessarily. Even if someone like that gave me their opinion, it's still important to hear people's voices themselves. Okay, anything else you want to know? How much do you really like me? That's not the kind of question I was expecting. That makes two of us. You called me when things went down, and you say you don't really know anyone else. So what? Is it that hard to admit that you like someone? You know me a little by now. You know what I'm like. Whatever you're looking for, you know I'm not that kind of material. Not even as a friend. And we're just ping-ponging back between neutral and facepalm pose. You want to use emotionally laden words to describe our relationship. We've met a few times. Does that do it for you? This isn't about me. I feel like it really is. Before anything happens to either of us, I just want to know. You want me to tell you how I feel about you? Anna, do you need a hug? Even if something happened between us, you know it's not made to last. You will go back to your own world, and I'll probably spend the next few years in prison. You wouldn't like the commitment anyway, would you? True. I wouldn't let something like that hold me back. People don't like me, and I don't like people. That's how he's always been. Right now, though, I'll have to say that you're probably the person I hate the least. Okay, that's something, I guess. And also, I can't deny that you have a certain exotic quality about you. Now you're talking. But enough about me. If you've put up with me for this long, it can't all just be your own unselfish kindness, can it? I don't hate you too. Oh, God. Both of these first two could be very, enjoyable conversation trees. I don't hate you too. I guess we feel the same way then. You know, this might be our last opportunity to do something. Why not make it worth it? Alright, so I also want to know what happens if I hit on her. So once again, it is, I can save over the first slot because I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that I don't need that anymore. I'm going to scroll back. Can I scroll back? And select a different one? No, wrong, right. Looking back, that actually explains a lot. Why else would you follow my every whim? Not that I mind, we both got what we wanted, and now I even kinda like you. You just said you hated me the least. You can't hide your feelings, Anna. Usually, people stay away from me after the first date, because that's apparently all it takes. Not for you, I guess. You know, this might be your last opportunity to do something, why not make it worth it? And I think this is the same place that I diverged, so I'm going to jump back, just so that all the variables are the same. Yeah, that's the same line. If you say so. Is that a yes? She strode forward, reaching out with a claw before she hooked it into the neckline of my shirt. Oh, that was fast. Was this a mistake? Am I gonna have to age restrict this video? What are you doing? We'll find out in 2 days' time. My name is Stupid, and I will see you all later.